Hello world, welcome to the 270th climate change emergency protest here in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. I forgot my microphone, so I'm going to improvise here. I'm shooting out on the Gettysburg battlefield right now in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, USA. It is January 24th, 2024. This is number 270 climate change emergency protest. Next week will be number 271. That'll be on February 2nd, 2024. And 2023, last year, was the hottest in human history in 125,000 years. The hottest in human history in 125,000 years. The doomsday clock people came out with their statement as to how close to midnight the doomsday clock was. And it had been at 90 seconds to midnight, which was the closest ever to doomsday, basically. It's at 90 seconds. And they acknowledged that this year was the worst ever as far as climate change goes. It's also the worst ever as far as not ever, but as worst in a long time as far as nuclear annihilation, with the threat of nuclear war by our resident psychopaths in charge around the world, and escalating wars and things like that. So things are out of control, and they still kept the clock at 90 seconds. Climate change is out of control. The CO2 level, carbon dioxide level, is the highest ever. And for myself, I estimate that the clock should have been moved up to 45 seconds to midnight. That's how close we are to causing our own destruction. But you know, they're co-opted, they're bought out, or something's going on. They had Bill Nye, the science guy, on as the guest speaker, this resident so-called scientist, and these stations keep doing this. They trot out these guys that are full of hopium and things like that, rather than being realistic. You know, they could have had James Hansen on, they could have had Roger Hallam on, they could have had Paul Beckwith, they could have had a whole lot of people, that Peter Carter, Environmental Coffee House on YouTube, they could have had Sandy from there, or Jennifer, anyone better than Bill Nye. But here we are, 90 seconds to midnight supposedly. So even though it's the closest to midnight we've ever been, it's much worse than what they're saying. So 2022, the past 2 years ago, we had 18 disasters of more than $1 billion each. 18 disasters in the United States of more than $1 billion each. Now in 2023, the year that just passed, we had 28 disasters of over $1 billion each. So we went from 18 disasters of $1 billion each, over $1 billion each, to 28 disasters of over $1 billion each. And why is this happening? Well, it's because the temperatures are dramatically increasing. More temperature increase leads to more fires, floods, water vapor in the air, all sorts of host of problems, bigger hurricanes, things like that. So we're not on a good path right now. So the path forward with climate change and peace is, and not in a savagery, is through truth and a hard, honest look as to how we got to where we are. The news stations don't tell you why these things are happening, what caused the tensions in Gaza, what led to that situation. It didn't happen just on October 7th or 6th or whatever it was. There was a precipitous series of events that go back over 80 years that have led to this situation. And the United States loves to call groups of people terrorists. You know, if you're against us, you're a terrorist. Well, we're not looking honestly as to how these situations end up happening. And yeah, they might be terrorists, might not be terrorists, but one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. If you look at the American Revolution, those guys were terrorists. Sam Adams, John Adams, Washington, all of them were terrorists in the eyes of the British. But for us, they were our freedom fighters. So it's all in perspective, and we need to keep mind of that. The media does no full coverage of the issues as they happen, the so-called news, why there are floods, why there are fires. They'll cover that the fact there's a flood, like in San Diego, had 3 inches of rain in 6 hours, which is like 3 months of rain, crazy amounts. So there are massive floods there, of course, and they don't explain why this is happening. More water vapor in the air and deluges of water coming down. The president of the United States, Joe Biden, never explains it. Donald Trump, who's going to be the future president, probably won't explain why it's happening. They don't want to address it. And failure to acknowledge why it's happening leads to more disasters. We're not going to fix a problem until we know why there's a problem. The Congress never says anything. There's supposedly these climate change oriented people, and they never address what the problem is, why this is going on. They never even mention the word climate change anymore. Everyone stays away from it. So you can't address climate change till you have a peaceful world and people start working together. These lines that we draw and we say this is the United States, this is Mexico, this is Israel, this is Gaza, this is that. It's insanity what we're going on. If you're from another planet, you're looking at our world and going, what is wrong with you people? You're drawing lines in the middle of nowhere that have no meaning at all. The war in Gaza right now, 26,000 people are dead so far. 26,000. A huge amount of them are men or women and children. 64,000 have been wounded. So you're looking at 100,000 people who have been killed or wounded in Gaza. So that's 4.5% of the entire population of Gaza, 4.5%. If you put that into perspective, if it was the United States, that would be 14,500,000 either killed or wounded in the United States. That would be more than the entire population of Pennsylvania, plus Los Angeles, all Los Angeles, and San Diego. That's how many people have been affected, wounded, or murdered in Gaza, what's going on. So you also got the war in Ukraine, you got Pakistan, India, Afghanistan and Iran at odds with each other. You got the Houthi rebels in Yemen firing missiles, United States firing missiles back. You got a whole series of things, and it's going to conflagrate into a wild potential World War III, the way we're headed. And there's no talk of peace. Our United States does not use their State Department for peace. They don't engage. You don't see any diplomacy going on as to how to get out of this situation. Now, on a sidebar, the weight of all the carbon in the atmosphere right now is more than the weight of everything we've ever built. Do you understand this? We've got more carbon in the atmosphere right now than the weight of everything we've ever built. So how do we fix this? What path can we do to get ourselves out of this problem? Well, I'm going to turn the camera a little bit so you get a different perspective. Way to fix this is strength is the compassion to see life through the eyes of your opposite. So right now we're labeling people as this or that, rather than seeing it from their perspective as to why they are the way they are. You know, whether it's people fighting people, or whether it's political opponents here in this country, the population going one way or going another way. We don't talk to each other and discuss, why are you thinking this way? What's going on? Is your dogma based on facts or not? If it's not, here are the facts. You know, these are the absolute facts. And if they choose not to acknowledge the facts and go along with it, that is their weird problem as far as that goes, which ends up being your problem anyway. Only thing you can do is keep presenting evidence as to why their thought process is wrong. As I said last week, the dumb kids in the class are ruling the entire classroom, okay? So the teachers aren't in charge anymore. It's the idiotic kids in the back of the class that are causing this disruption, and they're not going along with what's going on as far as evidence goes. Contrary to evidence, they believe otherwise. So you have strength, you need strength, and that's in the compassion to see what's going on through the eyes of your opposite. Also, the courage to say enough with this insanity. Someone needs to step forward that's important, other than you and me, and say, we need to stop this aggression around the world. People need to rise up. The governments are only as strong as their people. And if your people rise up, then this stuff will stop. The desire through empathy with others and the vision to say we are on the wrong path is also another strength. You need to have this desire, we need to have this desire and empathy with others to say we're on the wrong path, whether it's climate change or war or whatever. We humans and life on Earth will not survive the heartless, unlivable war with each other. What's going on in Gaza is totally a genocide. If you want to file for war crimes, this Gaza situation is the definition of war crimes, what's happening there. You had 1,000 people killed in Israel, and now 26,000 are dead in Gaza, and there's no stopping it. They've destroyed an entire country, is what I call it. They flattened this whole country, basically. They're choking the people off, starving them to death, not giving them fresh water, good water, not this brown stuff. And there's a whole realignment needed in thinking, and this is the definition of war crimes, what's happening. You cannot move forward with climate change until you solve the war issues. So let go of your fears that involve staying with the herd mentality, okay? So in this country, you're seeing people saying, oh, I don't want to vote for him or her because the other side will win. If I vote third party, the other side will win. Well, they might. but there's never a wrong time to do the right thing. Okay, I've heard so many people and on the news saying both parties, the people in the parties voting for their candidate, Republican or Democrat, really dislike the situation of a Biden-Trump matchup. Well, if that's the case, then vote for someone else. You got two other parties that are really viable, Libertarians and the Green Party. Green Party is about sustaining life on Earth. Libertarians are about living a life and no involvement in the government, which is kind of ludicrous because you can't function without that. But, you know, people need to really look at Jill Stein with the Green Party and take your time and go look at the Green Party. It's not hard to do. Take 10 minutes and look at their platform, what she says about life and everything else, and her outlook on things and her platform as to how to go forward. So this entire misguided, misinformed attitude by the majority is stepping off the extinction cliff into oblivion. We are headed for oblivion on the path we're on. You cannot continue to have the hottest day in Earth's history, the hottest year in Earth's history, and not suffer the consequences of it. Right now in this community, we've been lucky so far, but if you look out, this is set up for wildfires, this is set up for massive flooding, a whole host of things can go wrong, insect invasion. You look out here on the battlefield, they've cut down all the trees. There used to be forests in here, all the trees are gone, so that people can come to the battlefield and look at it and go, this is how it was in 1863. The problem with that is that we're in a dire death struggle right now, and no one's planting trees around here at all. This battlefield by itself has 8,000 acres. They could move forward and become the Gettysburg National Forest and have computer programs showing how the battlefield used to be, you know, in its view and everything. That's why you have an imagination and you have AI and things like that could show you how things were right now, and instead plant trees. I would be out there every day planting trees if they let me. So what it comes down to is, of the prior 12,000 generations that go back 300,000 years that came before us, it comes down to you. You're the final, you're just about it out of the last 12,000 generations that can actually affect things and make a positive path off this extinction cliff we're running on. So it comes down to you. 12,000 generations, 300,000 years, and it comes down to this generation or the kids coming up. And that's it. If we don't get out of this situation, we are literally going extinct. So your vote worldwide, and especially here in the United States, comes down to you. The two main political parties, nomination for president, are led by psychopaths. These two parties here in the United States, the Trump-Biden opponents of each other, they're going to run for president. These are two psychopaths. You know, that's why people are saying I don't want these two old men in here, because they're off their hinges. They to have an outlook that's totally against where we want to go, and yet people still stick with their parties. We're going extinct. Okay, if you stay with these two parties, you are committing a murder suicide. The suicide of yourself, but a murder of future generations as to what's going on. Those 12,000 generations I talked about will not come to fruition after you or the next set of people coming up. This is coming to a head. This is coming to the end. If we don't get a hold of this, and we can do this, but we're choosing not to, and every day that goes by is less and less of a chance. So choose a trail with survival at its end. You know, do you really think that Rishi Sunak, President Z, Modi in India, Trudeau in Canada, Biden and Trump are the best choices you have? Get off this path. You know, I hate talking politics, but it's interlaced with climate change. We can't get ahead without that. So 12,000 generations, 300,000 years, it comes down to you. The end of it all, we are it. This is it. So the burden and responsibility of cannot be just shrugged off. You can't go, oh, well, I don't care. We're going to die anyway. That's so childish and irresponsible. You don't care about your kids, grandkids, the future generations, what's coming up. The kid on the street you see right now, look out the window. There he is. There she is, you know? I mean, this is childish response as to what's going on. So we're all God in disguise, okay? We all have godlike qualities behind us. We all have that ability to love, or we have that ability to hate. And I choose to think that we still have that ability to love. And I will catch you next week on February 2nd. That'll be number 271. See ya.